I lost myself. Of course I did. This wasn't the plan. My idea of moving to Canada was get into the country, hit the ground running, get a job, did a senior producer job just a few days before I left with one of the biggest media companies currently in Nigeria. And I rejected that, shut down my company, and then I moved here. Is it because I'm a woman, because I'm a mother? I have to pause my dreams. Jobs were coming, but I couldn't take them because I had to be a stay-at-home mom at the time.
There are times, especially as a woman, where you're like, wow, I can run faster. Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Busy Moms Get It Done podcast. I am your host, Esther Shitu, journalist and mom of 3. I am excited to welcome today's guest, but before we do, I want to ask you for a favor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, but also share with your friends and families. And also, if you have any guest suggestions, please feel free to send them my way. Today's guest is Miss Sophia Etuhube. She is an award-winning journalist, a wife, a coach, and a speaker, and a mom. So she is a busy mom. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, Miss Sophia.
Thank you so much for having me, Esther. Thank you. And hello to all Esther's followers. It's so nice to be here.
So I saw your story on Instagram, and you had a great story that I think that embodies what most people who immigrate face. But before we get to that story, I wanted to know what I usually ask my guests is like, what is your motherhood story, right? Did your expectation when you were a kid, what did you think about motherhood? And did your expectation of motherhood meet reality?
As a growing girl, I think I've always had this idea of being a mom. I've always had it in my head, of what it would be like to have my own kids, right? I grew up around a lot of kids. I grew up around 9 other siblings. So I've always been around, kids. And so I always looked forward to what mine would be, right? So far, so good. I think the idea I had of motherhood is I wish someone told me it would be like this.
We all did.
I think it's only when you get in there that you know exactly what it's all about. You can admire all you want from outside of, parenting and motherhood. But once you get in there, it's so hard to explain. It's like asking someone to explain what it's like, what the air is like. It's unexplainable, really, but my idea of motherhood or my motherhood story would be, I'd say it's been a good journey. I always wanted to be a mother, so I'm a mom now, and it is a great journey. It's a lot, but so far so good. I'll do it over. I'll absolutely do it over. So yeah.
No, I love that because I had the same thought that I've always also wanted to be a mother, but I think there's some things where it's like I wish someone had said, you have to take this into consideration and you have to know how to respond in certain in certain situations because it's definitely like you mentioned, you don't know until you know. And as you're growing up, you're like, I'm gonna be this kind of mom. Completely different. When you get there, you're like,
that.
oh.
I think we all said that. I'm gonna be this kind of mom. And then you meet yourself as a mom and you're like, oh, well, there goes that.
Yes, definitely. And so you're a mom, but before you were a mom, you're a journalist, right? So I'm a journalist. So from one journalist to another, how did you get into journalism? And I saw that you are co-owner of Jazz Pictures Media in Nigeria. How did you get into that aspect of it as well?
I'm probably one of the few people in this world who would say I've always known what I wanted to do. I've
I feel like
always,
we're the same person. We're
you know,
literally the same person because I know I've done the same thing.
I
Like,
like, I have always known what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, what I wanted my life to look like. So while I was growing up, I loved the TV.
mm,
I loved what was going on inside of that box. I'm like, how do they do that? I
mm,
want to do that. And it went from I want to do that to I want to be like that person. I want to do what that person is doing. And my personality just, kind of like made it easy for me to love the media, television, radio, broadcasting, news, print, whatever. I'm a chatty person. I'm
mm,
a very social person. I'm not the kind of person that gets in a room and stays invincible. Just give me a second. Just give me a sec, that kind of person. So I've always known that along the line, this was the industry or the field I was going to pursue, right? So it started as passion
mm,
as a child. Back to when I was 5, they used to tell me stories of how when the news network plays their songs or what the songs before the news, I'd run out. I
mm,
used to enjoy stuff like that. And it progressed into school. I started doing this as my own extracurriculars. I'm reading the news to other students. I'm debating. I'm part of the debating club. I'm dancing. I'm somewhere in front of a camera every
mm,
now and then as a child. So that was where the love for the media, for journalism, for being a broadcaster, was birthed. So I got into the university. I wasn't able to get admitted into to study mass comm. I was offered linguistics and I did my research and I'm like, well, it's not bad.
same
They're
thing.
kind of in the
Yeah,
same,
yeah.
like I'm good, and I was still studying linguistics and doing a lot of things that was in line with where I was headed in life, right? I would volunteer anywhere possible, behind the camera, take a picture, make a video, anything. I would love to. Freely. I didn't even used to think people would used to take money for all that. Now I see people making great, like a lot of money off content creation, and I'm like, I did all this back in school for free. Screenshots. And it's like that. So that's where it started, from passion for the industry, and it grew on to into the profession that I wanted to. I don't think it grew into the profession I wanted to pursue, and so far so good. Let me say, practicing for 12 years down the line,
Oh,
I don't think I'll do this differently. I think this is where this is the industry I'll probably go go after in my next life. So yeah, it's been a journey right from when I could remember. Yeah.
I wonder, what about it? Was it just like the whole package that drew you in? Like, because I think for me, I always wanted to write, but I also I want to make money. So I was like,
No.
well, I need money and I need to write. And so I was like, okay, journalism. But so I started with broadcast and now I'm in like print media, online production, but still I want to make money. So like,
Yeah.
what about it? What about it drew you in?
It wasn't the money.
Mm,
I fancied it. It was cool. It was exciting. I loved the idea that people could sit down to listen to people talk. I'm a great listener as much as I'm a great talker, right? So I love the idea of storytelling. I am a good storyteller, you know? So I loved it and I enjoyed it. And that was the first thing, right? So it wasn't about money for me. I was like, I could be writing a story for you for free as long as people read it, as long as you like it. So for me, it wasn't about the money and it wasn't a career path that started in school. It started from as little as when I was maybe under 10.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, and I used to love to write too. Of course, I still write. I love writing, right? I love sharing my perspective. I love talking to people and penning down whatever information I grab from them. I love that. I love being able to narrate people's story. Not everybody is able to narrate their story in a captivating way, like a journalist would, right? So I love the fact that I have the privilege, you understand me, to actually listen to someone, package your story, give it a wide, connect it to someone else, and people are like, ah, about you and about your story. So it was first the idea of how storytelling connects us. The storytelling is like I have sometimes I'm short of words as a storyteller because storytelling is the life that we're living is
Sorry. Yeah.
storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
The life we're living from one generation to the other, your faith,
Mm-hmm.
everything, who we are, storytelling. It's all based on storytelling. So yeah, it wasn't about the money, but then I grew older, of course, and you're like, well, you cannot just love this thing. You have to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to feed yourself and clothe yourself and,
Yeah.
make a living. And that was when the idea of, okay, so how do we, put this together? How do we package ourselves and turn this into something we can make money from? And that's when the pursuit for a career in journalism, in production, in
Mm-hmm.
TV, in radio, that's where it started. But the first impression was not that these people had money.
Well,
It wasn't
let
that.
me rephrase because I what I meant was like I liked writing, but I was a lot of people would say, okay, journalists don't really make money. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay. So I was like, okay, which part of journalist makes makes money? So I was like, okay,
Fair
let's go
enough.
with broadcast. And then I'm like, okay, at least I can make a living in this. And
Yeah.
then I mean, I think things have changed. So I don't really like I wouldn't say like a lot of journalists make money because even the broadcasts, like especially in the U.S., they make like when you're starting out, you're making like $30,000. I was making $38,000,
Mm-hmm.
a year. So that was not money. But like I think you really have to love, like you mentioned, the craft of storytelling, in order to
Yeah.
to
It's
continue
not
in
a
it.
field. It's not a field you just walk into.
Yes,
Not a field
yes,
you walk into. It's
yes.
it's way deeper than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, when you started this organization in Nigeria, right? The Jazz
Okay.
Pictures Media,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How was that? You grew basically. It seems like you grew your career in Nigeria, and then you decided to immigrate to Canada. What made you make that decision, especially because you already built a life? Was it
Mm-hmm.
always a plan to immigrate? And what was your expectation? What was your reality?
So my reality for Jazz Pictures was my husband and I had this. My husband is also in the media, he's also a video journalist. So my husband and I back home in Nigeria were both in the same industry. He was doing so well in the company where he worked. I was also doing so well at the company where I worked, and our careers were really thriving, right? But we wanted more than just, the 9 to 5. We
Mhm.
wanted security, and what better way to gain security than to package your knowledge and also sell it, just like the people who you work for. So we decided we're going to start our own company. So in 2019, we registered our company and we started doing video commercials for a couple of top brands, in Nigeria, right? So that was how it started. It was just a man and his wife who had this crazy idea that they could do something with what their talent and their skills. And we just registered a company and it was doing so well. We were getting clients, we were getting money more than our 9 to 5 could give us in a year, you know. So that was it. And then we also wanted to we had this plan to give our kids more than our parents gave us, like every other parent. So that was also what motivated the idea to register the plan to register Jazz Pictures. And after the registration of Jazz Pictures, I always wanted to further my education, right?
Mhm.
So I was like, it's one of two things. It's either go back to the university where I graduated from in Nigeria or move somewhere else and do it. And the first place we always wanted to go to was come to Canada. But what that meant was the company that we had just started barely 3 years ago that was doing so well had to be closed down. It wasn't an easy decision to make. We were running our company on the side and we were also running our 9 to 5. And
Mhm.
it's not easy to do that in Nigeria. So it took a lot of sweat from us, a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrificing our weekends and sometimes our weekdays after 9 to 5 to, keep the company afloat. But as a family, we just decided, you know what, we wanted something new. Let's go see what's out there. Let's go see what's out there. And there were other factors that I would not want to mention here that motivated our decision to move. And after I had my second baby, I decided, you know what, maybe now is a good time. Let's try. And the world was just recovering from the crazy, yeah,
Mhm.
whatever that was.
Yeah.
Recovering from the 19
Yeah.
madness and chaos. And we decided we just wanted something new. We wanted to take what we had to go plant it somewhere else and see what happens. And that's how we packed our bags and took a one-way flight to Canada. And that's how the journey that was our reality and how we had to leave that reality behind, literally shut it down and move over 6,000 miles away from everything we had worked for, quit our jobs. I rejected a senior producer job just a few days
Oh.
before I left with one of the biggest, media companies currently in Nigeria. And, I rejected that, shut down my company, and then I moved here with just a skill, faith, and, family. That was what it was. And looking back 4 years ago, no regrets really. No regrets
Interesting.
really. Yeah, because we're both, in the same industry. We were back home in Nigeria. So I feel like that's one of the most fulfilling things for us to be able to still practice, to be in the same field we had left. My husband is also big on storytelling. He loves his job. This is the only thing he knows to do, right? So we were just kind of like a match made in heaven. You know? So people would say it's cliche, but it was just, the perfect energy. And then we are here, we're practicing, and we're very fortunate to be still practicing in the same industry. So yeah, that's how the journey to Canada started. And it's been going so well. we're the only blacks in our, I think in our province in the
Wow.
industry,
Wow.
practicing.
Yeah.
So it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's, we do not take it for granted, really. We do not. Yeah.
I love that because I think that obviously a lot of people will migrate and they will change industry. They will sacrifice. They will make exactly the same sacrifice that you do. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, well, we did this because, we have to. So they'll kind of abandon what they love. But the fact that you guys didn't like, do that and you just kept like, this is what we love. This is what we know how to do. I'm the same one. I'm like, I don't know what else I would do. Um, I think that's so inspiring. And so the fact that what was going through your mind when you had to say no to that senior producer position, and like what was the dream, what was the fate, what was the fate, what was the vision that you saw that like, oh, not now but later on I
I
got
know, right?
the money.
The money was so good. It was so good compared to what I was earning just before I got that job. So let me tell you a quick story since this is about motherhood and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So funny thing was, a year before I had applied to that role,
Mm,
but I was pregnant. They
okay.
found out I was pregnant and they didn't give me the job.
Oh. Okay.
So a year later, exactly a year later, just when I was, packing up my bags to leave to Canada, I got an email, I think a week before leaving for Canada, that they were now offering me the job. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
so I was smiling. I was like, well,
Yeah.
I'm happy now because
Yeah.
it confirms to me that it was in fact because I was pregnant. Y'all didn't give me that job because that
Mhm.
was someone mentioned that I shouldn't have told them that I was having a baby. I wasn't showing yet, but um, I don't know. I'm an open book, right? And I was excited for the role. So it was clear I had gotten it. So we were already having conversations, and I was like, oh yeah, are there any histories? Are there any things we should know about? And I was like, oh, I'm expecting my second. I'm a mom, da 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 da. I didn't know that information was going to, snatch the job off my feet, but it did. And a year later, I got the same role. I got offered the same role, and I was like, just because I was pregnant, well, goodbye, thank you, and I hope you guys, find the right fit, but this isn't the right fit for me no more. Yeah, so it was
No,
good money. It was good money. It was really good money compared to where I was working as a producer, and it was also going to launch me into movie making. It was
mm,
going to take my career from just radio and print and journalism to a different part of the media world, which was going to be movies, which I plan to go into soon. But yeah, life happens.
well, I'm glad. Honestly, I don't think that's the type of company you would have liked to work for anyway.
No, no. I
uh,
probably would have, honestly, for the fact that it was going to launch me into the movie industry, I
mm,
would have loved to take the offer. I
mm.
honestly would have. I'm going to be honest. I honestly would have loved to take the offer because it was going to launch me into an entirely different path in the same industry that I was in, right? So yeah, that would have been a great opportunity to get into that industry and also learn, right? But yeah, I understand your sentiment, and I heard a lot of people tell me that that's not the kind of company you want to work with.
So you came to Canada and you kind of had to rebuild. And one of the things that the reason I actually reached out is because I saw you like saying after all of this time, you had a career, you became a stay-at-home mom in Canada. And you've spoken about losing your self-confidence, right? Because you went from a place of like, you know, going very beautifully in your career, having a business that was growing. How did you get out of that low self-confidence? How did you find, like, as a mom, find the fulfillment in that role that you had to play at that time of like, okay, I'm staying home with these kids for now, but my career, I'm still gonna get there.
2022 would be the hardest, yeah, would remain the hardest year I've experienced in my 30 something years on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lost my dad, I've
Mm.
lost my mom, but that year I saw a version of myself that I never knew existed. I experienced emotions and said things that I never knew I was capable of saying, right? It was actually really tough for me. I was, like everybody would say, a shadow of myself.
Mm.
I wasn't the woman I used to know back home. I'd left so much, I'd given up so much to move here. And I had expectations. I had high expectations. I'm always like that. I really always have high
We
expectations.
all have right.
I'm not one to play small. I'm
Mm.
always, well, if I do it, let's do it as big as possible. So 2022 started, optimistic. Well, maybe this is going to be the year where I get the job, where I found community and, just start life in Canada because we arrived in December of 2021.
Mm.
But uh, unfortunately, the jobs were not coming. No, the jobs were coming, but I couldn't take them because I had to be a stay-at-home mom at the time. I got a couple of offers and I had to reject them after maybe a few attempts to try to see what it would look like to have two kids at home and be a call center rep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
those were
hard.
exactly. It was hard. I remember one day I was on the phone. I set them up in their room, everything, snacks, water, everything, just for the first few hours so I can quickly, run through the training, the first hours of the training and then, go tend to them. There was a camera there. I was watching and both my kids barged in.
I've had
What?
instances, so I'm laughing because I work at home with three kids. So like,
How do you get? I might want to give that a shot sometime, but they barged in, crying on the highest pitch. I was
yeah.
like, what have I done wrong? I just want to work. I'm somebody's child too. Y'all know, right? Can a woman walk, please? I had to log off. I was scrambling to mute and and I realized that they can only mute you and unmute you. It was the
Oh.
system. So it took a while and then I was muted. I think I just slammed the laptop down. Like, I panicked, I'd
Yeah.
never done that. I was new in this country and then, this isn't the
Yeah.
first impression I want
Yeah.
to give
Yeah.
my employer. And they were crying and I broke down and I joined them. So it was a cry party. I was crying. I was crying. My
I'm
daughter
not
was
laughing at
crying.
you. I'm just the image in my
Oh,
mind. I'm like, wow, because I
I
feel like
was,
I've been
I
there.
I was crying. I'm like, what is all this? Why? Why are you guys here? What do you want? And guess what the problem was? I think it was somebody water bottle couldn't open. So he was trying to help her open the water bottle. It wasn't working. And you guys are crying. And I'm like, I just sent an email. I'm like, I appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity, but I'm not able to continue right now. Maybe in the near future. I even explained to the manager that I have two kids at home. I don't have a daycare for them. I wish I did, but maybe when I have a daycare, I can send them an email. And I think one of them was like, yeah, that I should send them an email when I do find a daycare. But by the time I got a daycare and sent an email, she was like, oh, there are no openings anymore and stuff like that. So it was really hard. Of course, I lost myself. Of course, I did. This wasn't the plan. My idea of moving to Canada was get into the country, hit the ground running, get a job, go to school while you work, have your kids in school. That shouldn't be hard, right? Based on the country I was coming from, that shouldn't be hard. I can understand the job taking a while part, but getting your child into school back home in Nigeria was like, you can wake up and switch them into a different school every other day, right? So, but out here in Nigeria or in Canada, it was different. You had to be on the wait list. Imagine calling a daycare center and they say, oh, they will have. I remember one even said they will have a spot in 2026. I'm like, this is 2022. People were. It was a battle I couldn't win. So I didn't know how to fight it. I didn't know how to pick myself up for the longest time. I was praying, but it was more of just for routine because I didn't have anything else or anyone else to run to but, God. So it was just my faith that was keeping me out, keeping my head above water because I really was drowning in that season. I hated myself so much. And I was like, maybe if you don't have kids, this would have been different. The devil fills your head with all these crazy ideas. You begin to doubt your skills. Everything just started happening. And I just hated myself at that time, at that season in my life. But then one day, I looked at myself in the mirror. I remember actually looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, who is this? Like, who are you? I don't like you. I had a deep conversation with myself. I don't like you. I was angry in my spirit because it was depriving me of all the other little blessings around me. I wasn't starving. My kids were healthy. My husband hit his first very amazing job in the first 3 months of arrival. You know, school, I was doing good. My grades were great. I didn't see all these blessings. I was just blindfolded with what I wanted, right? And I got so angry that day. I had to start telling myself, you have to trust your process. This season is exactly what it should be. I had to tell myself that how strong do you think you are that you can manage two kids and school and a job? You know, like some sanity returned. I had to gradually start talking myself out of that very horrible feeling. First thing I said was, you have to trust your process. Your process, your journey is completely different from your husband's. Because at that point too, I became resentful. Is it because I'm a woman? Because I'm a mother? I have to pause my dreams. I have to, just put everything aside to be a present mother while my husband just, enjoys his beautiful Canadian life. Resentment for yourself and for your spouse, your children would just begin to form and you don't even know it's forming until you have that conversation with yourself. So I had to talk myself out of it. It was an actual real life conversation with myself in the mirror. I cried, I screamed, I I consoled myself, I comforted myself, and I encouraged myself. And one of the things that I know helped me was I had to do a mental reminder of who I am, not even who I was. I built a career from passion, from my passion. I didn't go to any special school of journalism. I didn't go to any special school of mass communication or anything. I started my career as an intern. The journey started back in Galaxy TV when I went for internship. That was how the journey started officially, right? I know how hard I had to work. I know I had to stay far away from my father who was sick. My family, my whole life was in Port Harcourt, but I moved to Lagos to hustle. So I had to remind myself the sacrifices I had made. And I had to start tapping into that woman, that person who was resilient, who did not relent, even when everybody was saying Lagos is crazy, you would not survive in Lagos. You're just a young girl. Well, I survived Lagos, Lagos did not eat me up like everybody in my house thought, right? So I had to tap into all my strengths, all my achievements, all my talents. I had to just remind myself. I got out my journal, I wrote them down. I went to my box. Underneath my box, I had all these files from years ago. I brought everything out. I saw my resume, my my certificate from the university, my WAEC, everything I had, you understand, done. I had to go back and I said, yeah, now this is me. You're still this girl. This is a season that is necessary. I love my kids. I'll do anything for them. Well, are you going to be willing to like pause until they set out in life until they are okay? A lot of times we say we love our kids and all of that, but then when challenges hit us, right, we're like, Mm. What about me? Right? So I had to also look at my kids. I had to look at my husband, and I had to start acknowledging that this was the life that we wanted. This was where we worked so hard to be, and we're living in a in our answered prayer. So why am I struggling? So I had to just start doing I had to start circling back until I started finding my joy again and picking myself up. Yeah, so it was hard. It was really hard, but it's possible to come out of it.
No, that's amazing. Again, amazing story because I think a lot of times we only discuss the joys of motherhood, and don't get me wrong, I love motherhood, but there are times, especially as a woman, where you're like, wow, I can run faster. I can run so much faster.
No, and that's true. We
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. But the funny thing, I also realized that even with the kids, your pace might not be fast with
Mhm.
the kids. Your pace might not be fast, you understand me? But progress, growth, like you're evolving even with all three of your kids on your
Mhm.
shoulders, you know? You could easily find the shortcut that could take you to your destination. Like, I don't know, but motherhood is magical, and as much as we can be faster, you understand me? Sometimes the race is not even for the fastest.
Mm.
It's not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that I also had to go through that realization because I'm separated from my ex-husband, and so with three kids
Okay.
trying to do something, it's a little bit harder. But I'm like, I felt like God had to be like, well, you're either going to do it with them or you're going to, do it without them. And, the story of doing it with them, of them watching me do this and being accepting of the fact that, like,
Exactly.
that they are like with me, and I was still, God still was able to like exalt me with the children. He's like, that
Yeah,
story is more beautiful than the story of like, oh, she didn't have children. I think that we often fail to realize that we have to be accepting of each of our story and the process within each of our story.
yeah,
Apologies.
I actually agree with you. We need to, as moms, we need to understand that motherhood is not supposed to set you back.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually supposed to push you forward. It's an
Yes.
addition to your life, right?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
kids, imagine every single day you wake up and you realize that you have the opportunity to mold somebody into something just by your kids watching you. You're molding them to become amazing people in life. But that's the progress I'm talking about, right? Every day they see you set up your camera, they see
Mm-hmm.
you writing, they see you, regardless of how overwhelmed or overstimulated you are, guess what? You show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will show up. And that's the strongest thing I know of in the world. Mothers are strong. We might be down. While I was down in 2022, I was still putting up a smile for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want them to see that mommy was struggling. I had to start homeschooling, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. You have to make do. You have to make use of the situation, right? So I had to start homeschooling. And then it started paying off because one day my son picked up a book and he started reading.
Mm-hmm.
All those little things, little wins and stuff like that. You potty train them. That's such a huge win,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we need to, as moms, understand that once we have these kids, seasons are not going to be constant.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons are going to change. They are growing. They're never going to be the kid they were yesterday. Every day they wake up, they're a different person, just like you, right? So at that stage, what I did not understand early on in my journey after moving to Canada was that this is exactly where the process is.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly where the process should be. You are not behind. You are exactly where you should be. And it is the things that you slow down to learn and understand about the season that is going to propel you into the season that you want to be. Yeah.
No,
So,
I love that. I think your main message of like, this is the process, right? Enjoy the process, and like,
yes.
and don't compare yourself, right? Because your
No.
process is definitely different from other people's process, and you can try obviously to propel yourself. But if you are always looking at other people's comparison as a thief, as the thief of joy, then you're always going to be like not joyous or not joyful.
Yes, that's another thing that also happened to me. I started seeing all these people I knew back home, someone is achieving something. And I'm like, wait, my only achievement right now is that I moved to Canada. I don't want that to be just my achievement. And then you forget that you don't even understand the journey of these people.
Mm,
You don't know how long they waited or how much they have walked to
mm-hmm.
be where they want to be. But you see their progress because a lot of times what we see is the result. We
Right.
don't see the hard work. We don't see the sweat. We don't see the pain. We don't see the delays. We don't see the hardship. We just see the testimony and we begin to compare ourselves to the end product, forgetting that there was a whole journey, a whole process. So, yeah, it did happen to me. As much as I want to say I'm a very confident woman, girl, that season of my life, I was like, nah, this isn't right. I'm just here, just playing mommy while everybody's life is moving ahead, you know. And it's even worse when you are an overambitious woman or someone with ambition and goals and plans for your life. Unlike if you're someone who wings it, it can be easy for you to,
Yeah.
just, whatever. But I had plans. And when it wasn't going my way, I also completely forgot that God also had plans. I was like, no, not my plans.
Yeah.
Just give me mine. Then we can talk about yours. But it was
We always
probably
trying to negotiate with God.
he
I'm
was
guilty.
probably there just chilling. He was like, I'm just gonna let you have this meltdown,
Yes.
and when you're done, we'll pick it up. And that's
Yeah.
what I did. Once I released, once I let go, I just and I said, that's enough. I'm done fighting. You do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. I'll be here when you want to use me, when you want to do the thing for me. I'll be here. And guess what? The things that I was pursuing in that
Mm.
season of my life, after I got the job that I God gave me after the 1 year period, I realized that I was playing so small. I was about to settle in that season out of desperation and fear. I was about to settle for what God had not, planned and purposed for me. But it took me a whole year to begin to understand that God had an entirely different plan for me. But I was there struggling for, just a piece of a cake when God had a whole bakery, you
Wow.
know.
I love that
Yeah, waiting
analogy.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
was begging for a piece of a cake. Meanwhile, God was like, I'm just gonna let you wait while I cook. So yeah, so that season is a season of preparation.
Mm.
That season where I was unemployed, I lost my self-confidence. I broke down, lost track of the woman that I was, lost sight of the things that I had done and the things that I'm able to do, started doubting myself and my qualifications and my skills and what I bring to the table. When I lost all those, when I lost all those, one of the other things that helped me pick myself up was when God was like, I'm preparing you in this season, but you're not calm, you're not calming down to see that I'm preparing you,
Mm.
right? So when I started to calm down and slow down, I started to see all the things that he wanted me to learn in that season. So my prayer went from God, give me a job, help me out of this phase, help me get a daycare for my kids, to God, what do you want me to learn in this season of my life? So yeah, and then it was clear to me that he was preparing me for where he was taking me, and I just let go and just let God. I started doing everything but apply for a job. I started, I started taking short courses online, studying about the country, enjoying the country, enjoying my being a mom and a wife, just taking it in one day at a time until the shift started to happen naturally. But you have to make the first move.
I love that. I do love that. I think that you could have easily stayed in that, like, woe is me. But we
Yeah,
do forget that, like, even in your acceptance of, like, this is a process, you're like, I'm going to prepare for where I still want to be. Like, you didn't lose sight of the vision. You're still like, even when I get to that next step, I'm gonna have this skill and I'm gonna have. So, would that be your advice for moms maybe going through their own process right now? It's like, prepare for when you want to
prepare
get
for
to.
the season. Prepare
Yes,
for the
yes.
season, darling. Prepare for the season. I feel like, okay, so you don't have the job yet, right? And then you're just there stuck in your feelings, sad and angry. when you could actually pick up a free course online to keep yourself busy.
Mm.
If you love social media, you could start pursuing content creation. If you love to write, you could start a journal. You could start writing a book. It's so easy to release a book right now, to become an author, right? You could start writing your first book. You could start doing anything. Every month I was doing something different. There was a period in that season where I decided I was just going to pursue content creation. And I started a 30 days real challenge, right?
Mhm.
And I was just making content both for fun and for educational. I was just testing waters until I understood what God was preparing me for. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that He was preparing me for something. So if you're in the season of your life where you're waiting, where you're unsure, where you're in doubt, where things are not working out exactly how you planned for, I think you need to just pause and see that you're in your preparation season and that it's also part of the process because you cannot. My daughter is 7 months old. She cannot act like a 5-year old. She's just 7 months old. That is the process. Where she is exactly where she should be. So when you just had a baby, why are you killing yourself that you don't have a job? When at that point in time, you need to be a nurturer. You need to nurture both yourself and your baby. You move to a new country. Your kids don't have daycare or school sports immediately you arrive. Well, what's going to happen? You have to raise them. You have to keep them safe. You have to be a mom to them until that season passes. It's so hard to be in such season, but if you let go, worry less, and just enjoy that season, one day you're going to look back in that your busy life and you're like, oh my God, I wish I had done XYZ when I didn't have a job.
Mm.
You
Mhm.
know? Yeah, I do that all the time.
Me too. I'm
Like,
like, I wish I had done this, written my book when I didn't have kids.
right? So, so it's just a season. It's one of the bus stops in your journey. You can't pass a bus stop to get to the next bus stop. Because guess what? If you pass a bus stop to get to another bus stop, guess what? The driver has to go all the way back to drop the people who need to be at that bus stop. Right? Yeah. Or if you get off at the wrong bus stop, you have to walk
Oh,
back.
wait.
Yeah. So you see, so it's a season. And then we need to just start trusting our process and believing that we're not lost in process. We're not broken. Nothing is missing. You just have to trust the process and understand that you're exactly where you should be. Honestly. Yeah, that's it. That's what I didn't understand immediately. And once I did, it became so easy for me to navigate that season.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Miss Sophia. I think that this conversation has been so insightful and so needed because I think a lot of us, especially as moms, as soon as we have the baby, we want to rush ourselves to the next process. And I think what you're saying is, don't rush yourself. Take your time. And I think
Yeah.
that's very needed. Where can people find you? I know Instagram. Is there other places that people can reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of my writings on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's Sophia Etuhube on LinkedIn. Sophia Etuhube. And my Etuhube is actually spelled, I just see that I didn't put that there. Etuhube is spelled Etuhube. So you can
Okay.
reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook as Sophia Etuhube. I'm on Instagram as living with Sophia _
Mhm.
I am also on TikTok. I do TikTok for the fun of it because I love to dance and sing. So
Yeah.
I love all the cute little songs and stuff there. So I do TikTok. I also do a lot of mom content on TikTok too. So other than that, my email is Sophia Etuhube 111 at gmail.com. So if you ever need another mom to, push you and cheer you on, please send me an email or a DM. I'm always available to be a shoulder to lean on for the next mom.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And please like, subscribe, and share this video because I think it's definitely a much needed conversation for all moms to know that enjoy your process. I think that's enjoy your process.
Enjoy the
Thank you.
process. It goes by so fast. So please
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it.
Yes. Thank you, and see you next time. I'm busy. Moms
Thank
get it
you,
done.
Esther.